Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, dear valued guests. Today we have the honor to have Mr. Ismail Mukhtar, the member of the MIA committee, the Fiqh committee, to talk about the start of the month of Ramadan and the ways for determining it and Eid, inshallah. Also, any other things that is related to this subject. Mr. Ismail, it's your way to talk.
طيب. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the beginning, I'd like to thank our brother and our elder, Ustaz Samir, for taking the initiative of enlightening us on many issues concerning our wonderful community. And secondly, I'd like to congratulate all our brothers and sisters in the community for the coming of Ramadan, and I pray and I wish that this Ramadan would be a blessed and righteous Ramadan for all of us. The issue we want to talk about today is regarding the determination of the beginning of Ramadan and the beginning of the month of Shawwal, or Eid al-Fitr. Before I delve into the method that's followed in Winnipeg, Manitoba, I'd like to make a few or two important points. The first point I'd like to mention is that our community is a well-established community. We are a community that has a history that goes beyond 50 years. And as a community, we have a leadership, we have a methodology, we have certain procedures that we follow in conducting our affairs. And this is in accordance with the guidance provided to us by our beloved Prophet ﷺ, who said that if you are three and you are traveling, choose one of you as a leader. So leadership, methodology, process is important. And we as a community, we do have a process that we have been following for the last 50 years. And that's something, or more than 50 years, something that I would like us to keep in mind. And we are not any different than any other community, and all communities, including Muslim countries, they have certain bodies, certain institutions that take responsibility of certain matters and issues in the community. So historically, our community had a body, which we call it the Fiqh Committee, made up of learned brothers and sisters, if there are sisters, and this committee would be responsible for researching matters of relating to Ramadan or Eid or any fiqh issues, and giving guidance to the community. And this has been going for many, many years, and this is the case in every community. Even in Muslim countries, you have the Ifta, Dar al-Ifta, or you have the Judiciary Council who determine these matters. So I think this is something very important to keep in mind. And by having this kind of body, that would allow us to have a methodology, to be united as a community, and to function in an orderly fashion. That's number one. Number two, on matters of Islamic jurisprudence, there are issues where there is legitimate differences between scholars. So when it comes on collective issues, we need to determine which opinion or which method to follow. And this is where we need a guidance from a qualified body of learned people. And that's why issues such as the beginning of Ramadan or Eid, there are different ways of doing them. We don't have time to delve into the details, but there are more than 3 or 4 ways of determining the beginning of Ramadan. And this is what's called in Islamic jurisprudence umur ijtihadiyya, matters of legitimate scholarly differences. And for those of you who are interested, there are multitude of research papers presented on this. You can research them. And this is where the benefit of having fiqh committee, because members of the fiqh committee, they will take their time, they will research all these scholarly presentations or papers or books and formulate an opinion which would serve as a guide to the community. So 2 important points. Let's follow an organized way of dealing with our affairs, which we have in our place. Secondly, we have to know how to deal with issues where there is legitimate difference of opinion among scholars. Now, having said that, the methodology followed by our community over the last 50 years or more in determining Ramadan has varied, but since 2014, our community, through its fiqh committee, has made a decision to follow the scientific method of determining the beginning of the month. And the fiqh committee did this based on requests from members of the community and from the Executive Council of the Manitoba Islamic Association to research this subject. And through the research, the fiqh found that the Fiqh Council of North America, the oldest body, and also the European Fiqh Council, as well as many leading Muslim organizations and many communities have adapted the scientific method. And the scientific method is more precise, more accurate, and since 2014, based on the research made by the Fiqh Council, which you can find it on the Manitoba Islamic Association website, and also based on open discussion that took place at that time, a decision has been made to follow the scientific method on determining the beginning of Ramadan and Eid. Now, some people might question this methodology. Now, and they have every right to question it. And I must mention here, there is no consensus among scholars on any specific methodology. As I mentioned, this is an issue of ijtihad. This is an issue where there is different legitimate opinions among scholars. Accordingly, on matters of legitimate difference of scholars, we could have a scholarly discourse, but in the end, one method should be chosen. So some people might say, well, this method of following scientific calculation goes against the Sunnah and the Quran. And I can tell you, this is a subject that has been extensively researched by the scholars. And for those of you who are interested, please read before you form an opinion on this matter and you take a hard position. First of all, the scholars say that sighting moon by the naked eye was a method used at that time because there was no other available method. A prominent scholar of hadith of our century, Sheikh Ahmad Shakir, quoted the hadith of the Prophet, where the Prophet mentioned, where he said that we are an illiterate nation. We don't know how to write, we don't know how to calculate. And he mentioned that the month is, pointing by his fingers, 29 days or 30 days. So he observes that seeing the moon by the naked eye was the only method available at that time because they were not a nation who can calculate. But today, he said, because of the scientific advancement, we are a nation who knows science. We are a nation not only knows science, leading in scientific research. So it is not, in our time, we have other methodologies that are much superior than what they had in the past. And they also point, sighting the moon is a means. It is not an objective. And today, when we pray, we follow the calculation. So we don't, when the Zuhr comes, we don't go outside and observe the movement of the sun. Or when the sun sets, we don't go outside and see the sun setting, but we follow scheduled science. So we follow the scientific calculations. We follow the schedules when it comes to prayer. And I can tell you that when Muslims started adapting the scientific calculation for prayers, there were strong objections from some people. But today, no one even objects to that. It is accepted by everyone. And similarly, following the scientific calculation on the beginning of Ramadan, yes, there is no consensus on the subject, and there is no consensus on any other alternative, but it's a methodology that's supported by many recognized scholars. And as far as the text of the hadith or the Quran, the Quranic verse, these ones do not categorically say that you have to cite the moon. The hadith, the prescribed citing, because that was the only available means. And citing, or the Arabic word, ra'aytum, visualizing, in Arabic has more than one meaning. It is not confined to just seeing it with a naked eye. So there is no any contradiction to the Quran or to Sunnah to follow the scientific methodology as confirmed by great scholars such as Sheikh Rashid Rida or Sheikh Ahmed Shakir or Sheikh Zarqa. Many prominent scholars have indicated the acceptability of this methodology. And as I said, this is something we could all delve in and do deep research. Having said that, I'd like to say in conclusion that we would be better off as a community that we be united on a methodology. And I think we have a methodology that we've been following for the last 3-4 years. And it is one of the legitimate methods. We could have a discussion, we could have a discourse about it, but in the end, we should not compromise our togetherness, our unity on matters where there is leeway and on matters where there are legitimate scholarly differences. And anyone who has further questions, they are most welcome to contact members of the Fiqh Committee. The Imam of the Grand Mosque, Sheikh Atif, will be available. The Imam of the Central Mosque, who is also a member, the Bilal Mosque, Sheikh Muhyiddin, and others. They are all available. They can answer any questions that you may have. And finally, I must say, or I must add, that Ramadan, according to confirmed scientific calculations, will begin Monday, May the 6th. The moon will be born on Saturday, sometime around 10:30 p.m., and it will not be citable on that night, but it will be citable on the next night. Accordingly, Ramadan will be on May the 6th, and the first night of Taraweeh will be on Sunday night. And I wish every one of you a happy and prosperous Ramadan, and let's be all together in this important occasion, and let's take advantage of every opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Samir, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Ustaz Ismail Mukhtar, for being with us, giving us the time. I know how much, you are in need for this time, but the community needs also, and you have devoted this time for the community. Thank you very much. Thank you.